Okay, welcome ladies to another edition of a Women's Ascension Roundtable. So excited to be here with all of you. I think we were all hoping to have much bigger news before today since the last time we met, and not much of anything really exciting has happened in the world. So before we get into it, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Victoria Reynolds. I'm a spiritual luminary and a heart healer. I help people heal their pain stories and a few other things. Yeah, we're all multi-gifted. So that's who I am. And Kimberly, want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you. I am Kimberly Palm. I am a spiritual teacher and I guess Ascension guide, spiritual guide, best-selling author, and certified mindfulness and meditation instructor, energy healer, and DIY maniac. No, just kidding. I do everything myself.
Sheri?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sherri Divband. Thank you guys for having me again. I am an intuitive energy healer. I have a wellness center in Bethesda, Maryland. I'm an author, mom, and I guess a lot of other things, but I think that's enough for right now.
Ileana?
Hi, I'm Ileana, the Star Traveler. I'm a psychic. I am an intuitive energy healer, spiritual teacher, and crystal healer. And I have a book called Crystal Grids, The Art of Healing with Crystals, which is a bestseller on Amazon as well. And I do online sessions for the healing psychic stuff, past life readings, galactic soul readings, and soul retrieval at Messages from a Star Traveler on the website.
Fantastic. So we're all healers and we're all intuitives and we're all authors. So it's great to have us all here again today, talking about current events from a spiritual perspective. And yeah, unfortunately, all the big things that we had hoped would happen by now have not happened yet. And so I'm going to start with you, Kimberly. What has Spirit been telling you about what's happening in the world and on the horizon?
Oh, wow. Okay, so actually, I'm going to tell you all, for people, because a lot of people watching this may not have seen my post on Facebook, but on Easter Sunday, I actually got a message from the boss, Yeshua, Christ. And it was basically saying, in a nutshell, I'm not going to tell you, anybody can go to my Kimberly Palm Facebook wall and look at it to see the full message. But in a nutshell, basically, and this is what I'm getting, is that everything that we are watching, like on TV and happening all around us, is like literally like a theater production. It's literally a theater production. The light already won. The good guys are in charge. We basically, the people who are in charge are not what they're showing you on the mainstream media. So it's all a big show. And then the energies are still happening. The planet's still ascending. That's all happening. The energies are still coming in. People even who aren't even awake are starting to notice these, what we call ascension symptoms. They're starting to, everybody is really starting to pick up on, wow, I suddenly can't sleep all the time, or wow, I'm suddenly having headaches all the time, or wow, why is my stomach so upset every day, or and I mean, I'm noticing even people who aren't even awake yet, like they're totally asleep, and they're kind of starting to subtly notice things, and they're very slowly kind of coming more into asking questions like, why is this happening? And people are also noticing on the political spectrum, the weird stuff that's going on. I think a lot of people who are asleep are like looking at what they're showing us and going, that's not right. There's something up there. So I think what's happening is we're still in what we call a big theater production. And what Christ told me, his advice for everybody is to just stay in a place of love, focus on your family, focus on raising your vibration every day, being happy, sharing the truth, standing in your truth, being a warrior of the truth, and just be loved, being compassionate and kind to each other. He also talked about the fact that all of the people who are awake, like myself, feel like we're being persecuted. And in Easter, he talked about the fact that he was persecuted, and then he went through this crucifixion, and he said that the process that we're going through is a lot like his process. It was basically, we're being persecuted and crucified, but we are going to resurrect as a new earth. The earth is going through, he said, the earth itself is going through a death and resurrection, is what he said. And that the whole earth is going through, and that's why things look so grim right now, because it's always darkest before the dawn, and we're getting closer and closer to the end game right now. And as we get closer and closer, things look more chaotic, more fearful, like they're pushing mandatory this and mandatory that. And if you look at what's going on in different countries all over the world, it looks really chaotic. And then you've got volcanoes blowing up all over the place at the same time. The earth is shifting. It's very, very chaotic. And that's because we're going through a death and rebirth into new earth. And that's what he said. And he basically compared what is happening right now on the planet with us on a political level, on an earth level, all of it, to what he went through. And then what us, the truth people, the patriots, he said, he said specifically, he said, people, the truthers, the patriots, the people who are out there, we feel like we're being persecuted and crucified and all of that. And he basically said, you need to hang in there and be strong and just focus on radiating love and creating joy. And he told me, live each day like it's your last. Like, he keeps telling me that, like, literally live each day like it's your last. And it's not because the world's going to blow up and it is our last day. It's because when you keep going into the future, well, I guess I need to specify to people that I'm an internationally known stress management expert, and I wrote a best-selling book on stress. And so the thing is that when your mind goes into the future all the time, worrying about what's coming, it causes a lot of stress in your body. And then you have what's called fight or flight reaction. So you release a lot of cortisol, stress hormone, into your body. And so every time all of us keep worrying about when is this going to, what's happening? When's this going to happen? What if this happens? What if, anytime you go to that, you're releasing all this cortisol stress hormone. And so his point is, you need to stay in the now moment, always, like literally focus on the now and not be focusing on when is this going to happen? What's going to happen? Because every time you do that, it causes anxiety and it causes stress. Whereas if you're present right now in this moment, you're living this day like it's your last, you're creating joy, you're creating happiness in your life. That is going to move us along a lot better, and it's going to be a better process for you and a better experience for you. So that was basically the message that I'm getting.
Yeah, that's a great message. I was getting something similar in that what I've been shown the last couple of months is that we need to stop looking for someone else to make the world better for us, and that we need to be the ones to take charge, because as we've seen, nothing has turned out the way people expected to. But then again, nothing ever does. People were expecting the Ascension to look a certain way. This is the Ascension. Sorry, people, it doesn't look anything like we thought it would. So, it is, and the resurrection is about the resurrection of love and light. It's not about the resurrection of dead bodies, and it's not a zombie apocalypse. So it is about all of us taking responsibility for who we are being in this reality, and actually doing something about it, not waiting around for other people to do it. Ileana, what do you have your input on this?
Well, Ascension looks a little different to every person who walks the path of Ascension, because Ascension is within us. As a collective, we move in a certain energy, but Ascension isn't dependent on the whole collective, how it's going to turn out. We each provide a little bit of our Ascension spark. How we walk our path, we provided that to the collective, but it's not all one thing. We move at different Ascension paths and different timelines of what we work on to our highest spiritual evolution. So what I've noticed when I'm working with clients, or when I look at my own Ascension path, it constantly evolves, and it goes to different levels of dimensions as well. It goes sometimes higher, sometimes lower, and sometimes in the middle. So it's really dependent on how you're feeling today, what's going on in your life. So Ascension moves and flows in like a river of time, literally. So I tell clients, don't stress about it. You're on your path, you're exploring your journey, you're doing your spiritual growth, you're awakening. Your ascension process is yours specifically. It happens on your timeline, and don't expect the collective to be at the same rate as you are on your ascension path, because every person is different and every person awakens at a different time and realizes epiphanies at different points in life. So one person's ascension is not necessarily going to look the same as someone else's, because again, we have so many things happening in life that have shaped us, who we are and what our spiritual evolution is. So we can't expect everything to be the same. When we ask a person, well, what's your ascension journey? What's your story? They share theirs, we share ours, and it's might be similar or very different. And that's all okay, because we're all going through the ascension process in our own time. So this is what I'm working on with clients on and teaching in my spiritual courses and consultations, that you're not ahead of somebody else, you're not behind somebody else, you're on your own journey, and explore that and dive deep into that and explore who you are, because that is what ascension is.
Right. So it's about each one of us. It's about each one of us leveling up in our own terms, in our own way. What's really great about that is that it reminds us to not hold other people in judgment for where they are, because everybody has their own path, and there is no one right way, and there's no one path to ascension. It is, as we know, every soul is here with a different journey, and to really not judge other people in their journey. And I think that's something we need to keep remembering when we don't see other people waking up as fast as we would like them to just remember that they are on their path and allow them to move through their process when the time is right for them. And that's kind of, I know it's frustrating for people because you want to like shake some people awake, and just understand that they will wake up when it's their time, and if it's in alignment with their soul's purpose. We don't know what another person's journey is. So rather than being frustrated and angry with them, hold them in love and compassion, and be our best selves while they are becoming who they're here to be. Thank you for that. Sheri.
Yeah, to align with what you guys are talking about, I feel like fear symptoms is what I've been dealing with most with my clients recently, and they can look a lot like the ascension symptoms, the ascension symptoms Kimberly spoke about, with stomach aches, mild headaches, heart palpitations, the sweating, things like that. And fear symptoms can look a lot like that when you're in the vibration of fear, and which so many people are, because of the fact that we're in, the middle of April right now, and a lot of things haven't panned out the way we have hoped for. And so there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of anger, resentment, all of that. And so when so many people are in this fear mode, they're having symptoms, and it's irritability and agitation, and it's severe headaches, and lashing out at other people. That's how you know the difference between ascension symptoms that they're having physically, and fear symptoms. And so I've been working a lot with my clients on recognizing this. And, I think the number one complaint that I've been receiving lately from people that I work with is they are losing patience with those in their life that are not awake. A lot of us have been awake for many years, decades even, and we have just been very patient with our family members. Even some of us are being attacked, as Kimberly has mentioned, having a hard time with family, and myself as well, and Victoria as well, where our resonance isn't aligning with one another and our beliefs. And it can be very taxing on everybody. And it's really difficult. And so a lot of people are losing patience and saying, I'm frustrated and I'm tired of trying to convince others, or not even convincing. They've decided to just be at peace with it and not try to convince family members. But now they're getting angry and frustrated of the friction in between the family members or the friends. And now it's starting to lower their vibration. And it's a really difficult place to be in. And I find myself in it as well in certain points. And I try, my biggest advice to people is just reflect inwards and just continue to put blinders on if you need to, and really focus on yourself and raising your frequency in any way that works for you, whether it's breathing and releasing that stress and that fear that you yourself are having, frustrations, doubt, whatever it may be, and doing things that bring you joy, reading books, going outside in nature, spending time with pets, family members that you do enjoy being around, that resonate with your vibration, and just try to stop the irritability that you're feeling towards other people, and just recognize that, as we are all saying, we're all on our own journey in our own vehicles and their own makes and models, and we're all in our own speed, and we have to give people compassion and empathy for them being in a different vehicle, going in a different path and a different speed, and that's really hard to do. And I think that is a big part of what ascension is, right? It's our ability to recognize that not everybody is the same as us, and giving people the space and the ability to walk their own path in their own way. And so I think that's what I've been dealing with most. I don't watch the news anymore. I have no idea what's going on. The only way I know anything is sometimes through people's Facebook posts, and I hear about things. But I really, for my own sense of peace and harmony, I don't want to know anything anymore. I don't care about dates. I don't care about who said this, or I don't even watch a lot of podcasts anymore, because I found that it was really sucking the life out of me, and I found myself becoming hopeful for things that were going to happen, that I believed were going to happen, and they didn't. And then I had to reflect on my own emotions and my reactions to it, and how it was affecting my wellness, and then my ability to be a mom, and my lack of patience with the kids that had nothing to do with them. It's all about me and my worry. I had to let it all go. And I'm really trying to teach and coach my clients to do the same right now, because that's really the most important thing, is our own individual wellness, because that has a ripple effect, and it affects others. And so I think that's what I've been focusing on the most.
Yeah, and it really comes down to that. If we want to create peace on earth, we have to find it within ourselves. If we want to create heaven on earth, we have to find it within ourselves. So what happens globally, collectively, is a reflection of what's inside of every single one of us. So rather than worrying about, I'm going to change the world, if each of us just focus on who we are being within ourselves and how we're responding to the circumstances in our life, that actually in itself becomes part of the collective consciousness, even if we're not intentionally putting it out there. It, the unified field of what I call the airwaves around the planet, that just gets picked up. And it becomes part of the new reality when enough of us find it inside of ourselves. And what I don't think a lot of people realize is that anger and that frustration, that actually is fear-based in itself. And that when we start feeling that is a recognition of fear trying to infiltrate our presence. And to really get clear when we're starting to feel that way. Now, I have to say that's happened for me as well. When my husband and kids started talking about getting the jabby jabs, and knowing the percentage, I've actually have done some math doing this per percentage on that, of how many people are transitioning out as a result of the jabs. And I kind of started going into a little bit of a panic over that. And then I realized, wait a minute, that fear is, again, it's fear attempting to sneak in and keep me from having my inner peace. And then coming back to, I actually have a note here to share with you guys. I have on my desk to remind me, it's conscious neutral observer. To always stay as a conscious neutral observer of our own experiences and the experiences of anyone else. And when we stay in that conscious neutrality, it keeps us from going into those huge emotional swings that come with watching the news, or come with the expectations that we have. And expectations can be very stressful. So it's not that we don't desire something better and that we don't envision something better. It's when we expect it to be a certain way that can cause stress and anxiety. And so I wanted to share that with you guys, the note on my desk that reminds me to stay neutral.
I love that.
Can I say two things really quick? Okay, so I wanted to comment about what Sheri said because I love what she said. Sheri, I have been kind of doing the same thing. So my message from my guides was I was watching too many of these fear porn videos and it was really dragging my energy down. And so they told me to stop doing that. So I've switched over to now what I call self-improvement. I have several doctors I follow, like Christiane Northrup and Dr. Mandel, who's this amazing chiropractor, and he's got hundreds of these amazing tips videos, like what to do for a sore neck, what to do for your back, what to do for raising your glutathione levels, what to do for your cells, for rejuvenating your, he's got all these videos. So I started really watching more of that, like what I call self-improvement, like really working on going within myself and taking care of myself, because I'm a healer and a teacher all day, and all I'm doing is advising and counseling people all day long. And it really, it's draining because I'm an empath. And then I have my family I take care of because I'm a mom. And so I decided, instead of going and watching videos that are going to drain my energy, because all of these videos, a lot of them seem to be really negative, I'm going to spend my spare time on the self-help things for myself, to nurture myself and love myself and take care of myself. Because it's like when you're riding on an airplane and they say, put the oxygen mask on you first before your child, because you're bigger and you need more oxygen, so you're going to pass out first, and then who's going to take care of your child? So you put it on you, and then you put the oxygen on your child. And so you have to take care, when you're somebody like us, where we are healing and working with people all day and our families and everything, and being a caregiver, you have to take care of yourself first. So really, really focusing on those types of videos, which, instead of these negative ones, I have found really beneficial. And then the second thing I wanted to point out was I had this Peruvian shaman on my channel, on my show, that I interviewed. And he told me, Kimberly, the fear is coming from both sides. It's not just coming from the dark side, putting out fear, like we're going to give you mandatory jabby jabs and all that. It's also the light worker side is putting in a lot of these fear videos and stuff, saying this is going to happen, or that might happen. If you don't do this, you're not going to ascend. And, all of these fears. So the fear is actually coming from both sides. There's a balance of fear. And so he said, that's why it's beneficial to just not even go there. Like, don't even look at any of it. You need to really work on yourself and your own personal connection to source, and listening to your own inner guidance and your own guides and angels, and connecting with God every day and that type of thing, because there is fear literally being swarmed at us, or, it's kind of like we're in a batting cage, and the batting machine with the balls coming at you has gone out of control, and all of those balls are just flying at you all at once. That's what it feels like. They're coming from all of the directions. All these balls are hitting your body, or like one of those tennis, where there's like one of those machines where it's shooting the tennis balls, and they're coming at you from all directions. That's what it kind of feels like you're being hit with all these balls everywhere. And so how you shield yourself, and you place a shield around yourself, is not only asking for protection every day, but really spending the time ignoring that stuff and really focusing on what makes my life better, what makes my life happier, what makes my body healthier, what can I do to help my family more, what, really focusing in on that, so that you get away from that fear porn that's being bombarded at us all day long from both the good side and the bad side. So
Yeah. And it's funny, I was kind of seeing while you were saying that, it's like the sheer panic that like the heart starts panicking when the shards start getting thrown at us. And, and just what Sheri was saying, I try to go outside every single day. I take off my shoes, and sometimes it's cold, and just, reconnect with Mother Earth, and remember that we're all here together ascending. And there's, to me, the two things I find help the most. One is going outside and earthing myself, even hugging a tree or walking in the ocean, whatever it is that we need to do to reconnect with nature, because she is always there, ever present, loving us no matter what. And then the other thing that I do is focus on gratitude, because gratitude will shift the attitude faster than anything else. We want to know how to shift the planet. We need to get out of fear and out of what we think needs to happen and focus on absolute gratitude for what we presently have. And that will actually change the planet faster than anything else. And I'm a gratitude preacher, I guess, because it's been so effective in my own life that it doesn't matter what the bleep is hitting my life, gratitude takes care of it every single time.
Yeah, exactly, Victoria. I felt like my world was falling out last week. My computer crashed. There was noises outside, and I'm like, okay, you need to change this vibration. The world is not falling apart. You're not falling apart. It's just technology. It's just something, just, okay, well, your computer crashed. You have a client coming in 5 minutes. Just grab your cell phone and do the session. Because I like the Zoom. I like to see the client in person, like one-on-one, video, audio. That's okay. You are gifted. You're psychic. The client will get the same lovely session on the phone, just like you do on Zoom. You're not dependent on your technology. The world is not crashing. So, and after the session went great with the person, and then I just went, my higher self, a portion of my higher self, I started intuitive channeling. Her name is Miara, and she said, go outside, go take a walk. The noise will stop. That's not a permanent thing. The noise will stop. The computer will come back. Just go for a walk. Take care of that stuff after you breathe some fresh air and go for a 30-minute walk. And so I did, and it was like, okay, nothing's crashing around me. Everything is fine. Just reboot your computer, restart the computer, close the window if you have to, if there's noise, and just leave the place for a bit, and everything will be fine when you come back. So that was the message from Miara. And once I let go of like, okay, I can't fix this now. I can fix it later. It's not, nothing has crashed. The world hasn't ended. It's just a little glitch in the matrix. Anything and everything can be fixed. Nothing is permanent. So give yourself the space to breathe. If things are like, if you feel like something's falling apart and crashing and you just cannot change it right now, give yourself space to breathe. Go outside, take some fresh air in, sit down on a bench and just breathe. Breathe in and out, close your eyes and just let it go. Yeah. If you cannot change it now, you can change it later. So nothing is permanent. Anything can be fixed. Anything in reality can be fixed. So going into panic mode, going into fear mode, it's not going to help solve anything. Letting that go actually is what helps you to fix things in life. Once you let it go, you trust source creator, you let it go. If you cannot change it now, you can change it later. It's what I learned from that particular experience.
The expectation created the frustration.
Well, the situation, just what I was in, I'm like, okay, well, I have 5 minutes. I cannot reboot my computer. I cannot fix this now. Let this go and just use my cell phone to do the session for the client. Substitute it. If something's falling apart, substitute it for something that does work at that time and use that instead. Because the computer will still be there at the end of the day, and you can figure out how to fix that when you have the time and you're not under stress. You're when you have extreme emotion coming towards you and bombarding you, finding a solution quickly. Like I had to find a solution quickly. So I said to myself, you're going to communicate with the client no matter what. There's a solution, just do it through the phone. It's the same technology. You're going to hear the person, you're going to connect, you're going to psychically give them what they need. Don't worry about video. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be what it should be. And that's it. Once I said that to myself, and Miara said the same thing to me, I just suddenly let go of the fear and the anxiety, and it was beautiful. Just cleared immediately. And at the end of the day, everything was wonderful. I fixed my computer. The noise outside stopped because there was just a truck coming by, and unloading things. So the beeping wasn't a permanent thing. So I just let it go and everything took care of itself.
Yeah,
that's
it's kinda
really
interesting how it works that way. Sherry.
I was just gonna say, I've been working a lot with my daughter on that recently. She's only 6 years old, but she has like extreme emotional reactions to certain things, especially when they're out of her control. And I'm trying to teach her right now a very important lesson that you can never control the environment, but you can always control your reaction to it. And you can make your life very difficult if you are extreme, have these extreme reactions to certain situations. And so I'm trying to teach her, take a deep breath, figure out a solution like you did. Okay, well, the computer doesn't work. I'll use my phone. Utilizing those tools is very important, especially right now when there's so much irritability and frustration, and the frequency is shifting left and right around us. We always are in control of our emotions, always. We can control how long we're going to be frustrated, how long we're mad at somebody, how long we're not going to forgive someone for. But we cannot control others, and we can't control our environment. But at least we can feel a sense of empowerment by knowing that we can control us, our reaction, our state of being, our wellness is in our own hands. And that's a big lesson that I'm trying to teach my daughter right now. And it's a daily stretch, because she's just really struggles with that, because she's such an emotional being. She gets that from my husband's side, so no, just kidding. But yeah, and I myself, I deal with that as well, but I'm quick at catching it, and then I decide to make a choice and to let it go, or to let the anger perpetuate or manifest even into a greater situation. Because if had Ileana allowed it to get to her, then she would not have been able to give the appropriate session to her client. And that's the great thing about intuitives and people who have a higher awareness, is that we're able to let these things go so that we can be of service to other people. Because at the end of the day, that's a lot of what we're here to do. So.
Right.
Absolutely. I agree with everything she just said. Because that's a step as a stress management teacher. I mean, that's something, and I've written about that, as everything you just said. I agree 100%. Excellent. Perfectly said.
Thank you.
Perfectly stated. Yeah.
So the theme that I've been hearing through this, and I think it's really important for people to understand, is to focus on the solution, not the problem.
Yes.
That's how we're going to create our new reality. We're not going to create a new reality by focusing on the existing problem, which is why a lot of us have just turned off the TV. Like it's one thing to acknowledge that the problem exists. It's another thing to actually dwell on it. And then it sucks us down into this dark space. It's a lot harder to get back out of. If we stop focusing on the problem, instead of focusing on the solution happens because it must. That's how the universe works. But as long as we're continuing to focus on what we don't want, we'll continue to get what we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And continue focusing on the problem is just going to continue to create more of the problem. So collectively, as humanity, we need to stop focusing on the problem and instead start focusing on the solution. And every single one of us is part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's an amazing lesson here for everyone who's watching this video to understand that we actually are the solution. And rather than,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
we are the solution just by who we are being and what we're choosing to focus on.
Yeah, and my family is very awake. I mean, they called me a conspiracy theorist when I started my YouTube channel, because there's like, oh, there's stuff on the moon, stuff on Mars. I don't believe it. But over the years, they're like, yeah, it sounds like the truth now, because what you've been putting on your shows, stuff about that is coming forward now through official channels. And so my parents are like, yeah, you were right. This is true. What you've been talking about since 2015. Thankfully, they never judged me for anything that I disclosed on my show, what I talked about. They're open-minded people. Even if it's not like fully in their realm of belief, they're still open-minded. And I have no problem with them about jabbies. They're like, we're not getting them. So it's not a problem. I'm not getting it. They're not getting it. They're very much like very neutral with people who talk about that subject. Well, if you want to do it, go do it. If you don't, you don't have to. They're very like that. And they don't have like a huge discussion about it with anybody. They're very neutral folks. So you want to be who you want to be, you go be who you want to be. So that's their belief system about evolution, about soul growth. Just go and be who you need to be. Just be yourself and grow. Don't impede others in their soul growth. Don't judge other people. That's how my parents raised me. You need to be who you need to be. Go be it. Just don't interfere with other people's lives. That's how my parents raised me. So that's how I still am today. I'm very open-minded. I will listen to what you have to say, to your side of it. And if somebody asks me for advice, I will give them the best intuitive advice that's coming forth from source, because I channel source. So, but I'm still very nice in what's being said and what's being channeled. I don't judge. I keep it neutral. Even my responses are neutral. They come from respect, and they're the best response person will get, the best advice. That doesn't come from my judgment, that comes from source, because I don't give my own personal advice to anybody. I channel it from source. That's where it comes from, without bias or judgment.
That's beautiful.
I love your parents. You are so lucky. I wish I had parents like that. Mine were so opinionated.
Oh, they're very much opinionated, but they're still like, this is your life. You're in charge of your life. We're not going to impede what you do, because this is your soul path. This is ours. So we all three of us, and the cat too. It's like, if you want to do what you want to do, go ahead. We're not going to stop you. We're not going to create roadblocks for you, because that stops soul growth. So it's not a solution like to stop somebody from doing what they want to do, because you can't. That person is responsible for themselves. Free will, free choice. We all have that on earth, and we all have the right to make our own decisions and not have that be impeded. Even if we don't agree with somebody else's choices, it's not for us to stop them. If that's what they want, that's what they want. The soul wants what the soul wants. The heart wants what the heart wants. I've learned that like throughout my time here on earth. You have to be your genuine self and let others do the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No judgment at all. And that's the one thing I think my clients appreciate with what I do for them is I will have people call me and tell me stories that are really horrific of things that happened to them or things they've done themselves that were terrible in their past. And they're so used to being judged and harassed by people and treated badly because they made a mistake in their past, or they did, like, let's say they cheated on their spouse or something like that, you know, and then what they find with me is that I'm unconditionally loving and acceptance of everything. You know, there's no judgment. It's like what you did in your past is your past. I'm only concerned about what is in your heart right now in this moment. Are you a good person? Do you want to do good things from this point forward? Where are you going with your life? I don't really want to, care about what bad things or what, the terrible things are, like, some people, even like people who have been sexually molested or they were trafficked or, anything like that, they're afraid to share that information because they think I'm going to judge them or whatever. But then, I pointed out to people that whatever you tell me, first of all, is between you, me and God. I will never share it with any, I won't share it. But then the other thing that I point out is the fact that I won't judge them. I will not judge them. There's no judgment because it's just love. When there's love, there is no judgment. You can't have judgment and love at the exact same time. It's either love or judgment. It's not, it just can't be at the same time. So.
Right. Love and judgment's fear-based. So
yeah. And Kimberly, just to add to that, or to that topic is important right now. And that's what a lot of these New Earth children are here on this planet to do, is to teach us to have more compassion and empathy and not to judge others. children these days are like, they blow my, I mean, I work a lot with children, so I specialize mostly with children. I have the children's center, my own kids, their friends come over, so I'm interacting a lot, and not a day goes by that I don't feel like just overwhelmed with just joy, like talking to these kids and the things that come out of their mouth, and the abundance of compassion, and just the way they talk about each other, and their parents and their family. And a lot of these, a lot of these children these days are rejecting the television programs that are meant to program us through fear-based and aggression and violence and all of that. Some of the kids won't even, like my daughter won't even watch the shows anymore. She won't walk out of the room. These children are so exceptional, and they, a lot of these children also have only had one life, so they are challenged a lot. This is their first time here, is what I mean, and on earth, and so they're struggling a lot trying to identify with a lot of the third density kind of paradigm, the extreme emotions, the fear, the war, the anger, the resentment, and all of the things that they're exposed to, and they are reacting to it in a way of much more compassion than adults do, where they, instead of looking at two people hurting each other, their reaction is different. Instead of getting angry, they feel bad for the people. Their reaction is so much different than adults, or those people who are very much asleep. These new age children are incredible, and I just feel honored every day to be able to work with them, because they're just love. They're just the vibration of love, just like animals. They are at the same frequency as them. They just embody so much love, so much respect. They love the earth. They love animals. They're just loving. They have this endless supply of love. And I really feel like the abundance of them is really going to shift the planet in such a positive way, because they are touching so many people, whether it's their teachers, neighbors. I mean, my neighbors love my kids so much. They light up every time they see them, because they're older and they don't, their kids are not around. They're much older. And, it could be strangers. It could be anybody. These kids, they just come into someone's path for just one moment, and it brings a smile on their face, and then it imprints that energy, that their energy imprint for such a long period of time. And that's really, they're our greatest teachers, Kimberly. I mean, they teach us that endless compassion that we at some point in our life all had, that somehow dwindled away because of trauma, anxiety, programming, all of those things. Our parents, not everybody's parents, but a lot of parents, the way they treated or raised you, shutting things down, a lot of that has a lot to do with the troubles that we have right now as adults.
Yep.
But kids are here to just break that down, and it's such an incredible thing.
Wow. I wish that I had the parents that I've been to my kids, because I've been, my kids were born very, they're very sensitive. They're star seeds. And even though they don't know it, because they're shut down right now, they're kind of asleep, or whatever you want to call it, they don't realize who and what they are. I know who and what they are. They actually, when they were little, they had all sorts of interesting paranormal experiences. And then it's almost like somebody came to the house and like erased their brain, because now suddenly they don't remember what happened, and they deny that it ever happened. And I sit there and go, what the heck, did a Men in Black show up at my house or something? Because I had these kids. And I wanted to ask you about that, Sheri. Like, what do you make of something like that, where you have these kids who come in and they seem like crystal star seeds, where they can read your mind, and they see dead people, and they do this and they do that, and they have all these experiences, and they see ETs, and they have all these experiences, and then one day all of a sudden they pretend like none of that ever happened, and then from that point on it's like they're totally mind washed, and it's like none of it ever happened. What would you make of that? Because I'm sitting here going, what Men in Black showed up at my house? I want to go face punch that guy, whoever it was.
I mean, unfortunately, that is a reality that a lot of people are dealing with. And there's so many factors, and a lot of these kids are worried about, they look around and they see, okay, are my peers experiencing these things? Or what is my parents' reaction when I tell them I've had these experiences? What do my siblings do when I have these reactions? And they formulate defense, their defenses based on that. And so they decide to whether they keep it or whether they shut it off. Some of it's subconscious, some of it's conscious, and it has a lot to do with the environmental reactions of what they share and when they share. And a lot of the parents that I work with, and I know this wasn't you, Kimberly, because you're not shutting your kids down, but
No, I supported them. I supported them fully.
and that's the challenging part is, okay, so I supported them, but we don't know what your children experienced when they were with their peers, and did they feel comfortable sharing it with their friends? Were they made fun of? Did their father react the same way? And so there's a lot of factors that we cannot control. Or as a mom, we can only control so much. I tell my children to tell me everything. I never act surprised. If anything, I'm excited when they tell me, and I try my best to make them feel comfortable. But I can't control my husband's reaction when I'm not around. I can't control the kids at school, what they say. And a lot of times when I do talk to teens that come into my office, once they feel comfortable, they'll share with me, I noticed one of the most common things is they'll say, I noticed that the kids at school we're not talking about the same things. Or when I decided to say something at 7 years old, they looked at me and they laughed at me and said that was ridiculous or silly. And out of fear, out of fight or flight as a human reaction, we are here, so we have survival mode that kicks in. They will block it to ensure that they have the ability to fit in and survive. And that's the challenging part. But the good news is later on when they're ready, I've helped so many activate it and bring it back. But it's all about their willingness to feel safe and their intention to want it. And so, the best thing you can do, Kimberly, is just be there when the day comes that they're ready for it. Because I have a teenager, he's not against it, but when he was a young child, I think I shared it in one of our interviews before, he saw angels, he saw dark angels. He even asked me about it. He told me he talked to Archangel Michael. He would tell me things all the time. Now, if I ask him, he says, I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
my experience.
and I think to myself, what did I do wrong? But it's nothing I did wrong. It really isn't. It's just his journey, and he's decided to take it off. And I just hope that someday when it comes back on, I'll be there for him. But until then, I
Absolutely.
just,
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Because that's the same kind of thing, the angels. And now they're saying, I don't believe in angels. They're like, I don't believe in angels. And it's like, what? You used to see, it's like you used to see them all the time. And now you don't believe. I mean, I remember when my daughter was like 2-3 years old and my son too, they'd be sitting in their little high chair and they'd be giving snacks to somebody who I couldn't see. I couldn't see them. And they'd be feeding snacks to somebody. And I'd be, who are you? Giving your snack. Oh, it's my angel. That's my guardian angel. They could see him perfectly. It's like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
Life situations happen too as well. I mean, when they're little, they're one thing. When they're older, there's something else. It's like, I don't have a child, but yet I do have a child. My cat, my 9-year-old cat, Mia, she's like a child right now. When she was young, she was like quiet. She wouldn't meow. She just so self-independent. Now she's like reverting back into a child at 9, at the age of 9, when they're supposed to be like more, self-independent. She seeks more attention. She's talkative. She comes up. She's like seeks so much attention. So it's like, okay, what's going on with you? What's going on? Show me, tell me. And she tells me, okay, I need more food. I need more comfort. I need more love. You need to be here for me more. I crave more love. I crave more attention. Here I am. So here you need to be for me as well. So before she wouldn't crave so much attention. She was more independent. But as things change, as life changes, people also change. So just because they were one way, that they were talking about angels, believing in angels, as they grow older, sometimes that changes. And with my cat, it's a reverse. Now she's like, I want to be closer to you. I want to be more with you. When I'm meowing, I want you to come here and I want you to pet me. I want you to show me more love. I need more from you now as I get older. So, and when I was younger, I was more self-independent. Now it's the opposite. So I'm here to support my cat, my love child, my fur child. So I still think I have a child. That's my child. So I'm here for her changing needs. So it's like, we just love them no matter what.
Right.
Ileana, my cat is the same too. She was really normal cat when she was little. And then now she just constantly wants attention, and she's really talkative, and it's pet me and showing off and trying to get attention all the time. And she's super needy, and she will sit outside my husband's office and guard him like a guard dog. And she's doing all these things she never ever did when she was younger. So I totally hear what you're saying about the fur baby thing. They're very, very much like humans. We keep saying that our cat is kind of like a 5-year-old child, the way she acts a lot, very similar to a human child, the way they act. It's really interesting.
You know, I wonder if some of that's from us being home so much, because my cat's been acting the same way too. It's like, oh, well, you're here all the time, so therefore you must give me your attention. Where before last spring, we were gone a lot more. I think and kids have kind of gotten the same way. Mom's around all the time, so I'm going to ask for more attention.
No, things are usual. My parents are out all day. I'm doing my work stuff. So she's alone for the whole day, the cat. It's just, I hear in the mornings, the meowing, especially the attention is during 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. is when the attention needs to happen. I think the lesson that I'm learning is that with age, people do change. It's something like we don't stay the same. They don't stay the same. We constantly change. So we just need to be supportive of those changes in people's lives, in our relatives, our children, our parents, ourselves too, because we change, our pets. So what you had yesterday might not be the same thing that the person is now today, because they're evolving, they're changing. So just because my cat is different than when she was younger doesn't mean it's not the same being. It's the same being. The needs have changed. Therefore, I'm changing to help her with her needs. It's just about change. Like, we can't expect people to be all the same thing all the time, because change is evolution, change is soul growth, change is ascension.
Yeah, and you're right. If we go back to remembering how much we have changed, that allows us to be more patient and more compassionate with other people, where they are, where they have been, and we don't know where they're going. So to embrace the change for ourselves, but also for other people, and for our cats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sheri,
did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I mean, I love the topic of pets, and I'm a huge animal person, and but I didn't really have anything to add. I was just enjoying Ileana talk about her cat.
Ileana has a great relationship with her cat. Her and I have had a lot of conversations about her cat. Her cat has quite the personality, from what I've heard.
It's like really like talking to a human, because she's always there. She's like, well, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Pet me, feed me, groom me, and now we're going to go play hockey with the balls. So it's like having a child, like a full-time child at 9 years old, and she's far more communicative. And she's like, well, I feel like I'm talking to a person, and I am, because animals are very intuitive. Cats, dogs, any animal is intuitive. So I feel like I'm talking to somebody who's my size, my age. I'm talking to a person. And when I look down at her, I see a cat, but that's not really a cat. She's very intelligent. I feel like I'm talking to a human being, and I am talking to a being, just in a slightly different form from when I knew her in past lifetimes, when she was a priestess. So I remember her as not a cat, but as a human being. So there's really a connection from me and her in past lives and me and her now. So it's like, what I see as a cat is not really a cat to me. It's a full-grown living being that I interact with on a daily basis.
I mean, animals, they have soul contracts with us as well. I did animal communication for a long time before I started working with people. And I had my dog that most recently passed away. She was 13 and we had to put her down about a month ago. But she was the first animal that I really truly communicated with. And she told me that she was a very evolved soul that is decided to come into this life one time to be an animal. She hated being a dog. And she said she did it only to help me through my evolution, to help me learn how to work with animals, how to communicate with animals, how to do energy healing with animals, and to appreciate and understand them. And so she was one of my greatest teachers. But anybody that met her all said the same thing. This is not a normal dog. She didn't like to play fetch, didn't like to do anything a dog would do. She didn't like to be wet outside. She had to kind of like walk. She wanted to be inside. She was more, like a human being. And when she looked into your eyes, like to anybody, not just me, like it's like she was looking into your soul and reading you. And I just had so much admiration and respect for this dog because I knew she wasn't a dog. She was a soul that incarnated as a dog in this life to help me out a lot and also to be with my children and my husband as well. But she was here to do so much more to teach me and to guide me. And we had a contract together. And when it was her time to pass, she told me, I'm going to live for probably about 6 to 9 more months because we got another dog. As soon as this dog is ready to be alone, I will move on, and my time is our contract is up. Sure enough, 9 months later, almost to the date, we ended up putting her to sleep. And so I will forever cherish that relationship because Ileana is right. It's not just a cat. It's not just a dog. It's not just a horse. These animals have a spirit just like us.
Yeah.
And
Consciousness.
they connect to the collective consciousness as well. They are highly evolved. Just because they can't communicate in words, they are highly intelligent. And part of my life's mission is to remind people of that and to teach people to respect and love animals as we do just as much people, the animal bond relationship. So.
Right. Yeah, they are actually our soulmates. People just don't really
Yeah.
think about soulmates as being other humans, but a lot of
Animals,
animals in
too.
our lives are also soulmates. We've had soul agreements with them.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to let all of you know that we have bumped up against an hour. So do we have any closing statements to make before we end this lovely roundtable this afternoon? We're good?
Kimberly, close us out. I know you have something to say.
Well, I really wanted to comment about the animal thing because it's always bothered me about the biblical stuff that man was supposed to care for animals, but man has always had this superiority, nasty thing of animals are beneath us just because they don't speak our language. So just because we share the planet with lions and tigers and bears and cats and dogs and birds and everything. And just because we can't understand their language because they communicate in a different language than we do, doesn't mean that it's okay for us to go and wipe them all off the planet and kill them and torture them and do all the terrible things that humans do and wipe out all their forests and their homes and, cutting down the rainforest and all the things that we do. We're not being very good caregivers because God wanted us to care for them and treat them like they're our little fur brothers and sisters. And instead, humans are so disrespectful to animals. And and everybody who knows me knows this about me, but I love animals more than I love humans because animals are unconditional love and they're made by God and they're the closest to God. And people are not so nice, but animals are always love, 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 love. They're wonderful, like especially dogs and cats are such loving beings. They do have a soul. I have 4 spirit animals that guide me all the time. I've got eagle, hawk, wolf, and believe it or not, what do you call those guys? Dragonfly and dragonfly. And they all have a spirit and a consciousness, and they're not any less than you. I'm sick and tired of human beings sticking their nose down at animals just because animals don't speak our language and they're not able to. A cat doesn't have a thumb and they can't fight back and they can't pick up a baseball bat and smack you with it. Just because they're not able to do the same things we do and they're not able to speak our language doesn't make them any less. And people need to have more respect for the animal creatures on the planet because We share this planet with them. And when we talk about the collective consciousness of humanity, it's not just a collective consciousness of humanity, it's a collective consciousness of all living things on planet Earth. And I'm going to drive that home with everyone. That's my final message, is from this point forward, when you're thinking about us as a collective consciousness that's ascending, don't just think about the humans on the earth. Think about the fact that we are a collective consciousness with every living creature, and we need to have respect for all those living creatures. It's really important.
It's about
Yeah.
all life.
That's my final word.
I'm going to close out with one more thing. The misperception between the misperception that dominion means the same thing as domination. They're two very different things. And part of that has been the misperception. Dominion means to be in care of, and domination means to control. And for thousands of years, humanity's had that misperception that they mean the same thing, and they're two very different things. When we rise, we all rise. Ileana has one last thing to say.
Yeah, so also Ascension is about being able to manifest what you want in your life. And sometimes it looks like you have a situation like, okay, I need to find a place to live. I need to move out from where I am now and find a place to live. Well, you can manifest that place. You can put all the characteristics of your new home into a manifestation. You could write it in words. You could say it to God. You could make it a prayer. And it is heard, and you can make it possible, because when you manifest something from the universe to this 3D reality, you're literally creating your new paradigm timeline. You're shifting from the old timeline that no longer serves you into the new one. You're putting forward the seeds of creation that you want for your new place, for your new job, for your new whatever you're trying to create. It's still, you put manifestation work into it to make it happen. You don't just expect it to happen. You manifest the creation of that new reality with crystals, with words, with prayer, with meditation. You can make that happen, because we're all creator beings. And sometimes we forget that because we're in the daily life of stress, whatever, this is happening, that is happening. But all of that is just a distraction, and put aside some time to create your new manifestation reality. If you need something to change in your life, you need to be the driver of your own change to make it happen.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great final thing to close out with, that we are the creators of our reality. That actually is how we are made in the image and likeness of God. We're creators. It is what separates us, or sets us, not separates us, sets us apart all of the rest of the beings on the planet. And that's the reason we have been given the gift of taking care of the planet, is because we are creators. So first and foremost, I think above everything else, we are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones that are here to be the change in the world we want to see. We are the creators of the new earth. No one else is going to do it for us. It's up to every one of us to envision it, to speak it into existence, put up vision boards of the world we want to create, whatever it takes to focus on the vision of the world that we're creating, and birth that into existence. And every single one of us on the entire planet are part of birthing that new reality. Thank you, ladies, all for being here today. I have to run. I have an orthodontist appointment to run to, or rather one of my kids do. Thank you all for being here, and let's do this again. This was great. Maybe by next month, we'll have something more exciting to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you all, ladies. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.